Did you watch the new Superman trailer?
I skimmed it because I've seen clips, I saw like frames, and I thought it gave away too much, so I didn't want to watch it. But
I thought it just made things more confusing, but I watched through it. Did you see? So Nathan Fillion is playing Guy Gardner in the movie. Have you seen his haircut?
It's awesome.
I think it's
You're
fucking
not a fan.
ridiculous looking, but I'm okay with it. I think the very specific shot they have of him, I think it looks absolutely stupid. But there's another shot that I saw where it looks slightly better. So I'm sort of ambivalent about it. I fucking love that they're doing Guy Gardner as opposed to any other Green Lantern iteration.
As opposed to Jon Stewart or Hal Jordan or whatever,
it was
right? They have their own TV show.
Obviously, it was the James Gunn choice. I mean, if you have James Gunn as director, which other one are you going to pick? I mean, obviously, Guy Gardner.
They're not going to pick Kyle Rayner.
Kyle Rayner would be the worst choice. I don't think anyone would pick Kyle Rayner.
No, because he's boring.
I like
What's
Kyle Rayner, but he
deal?
is objectively the worst of the bunch.
Yeah. At least Hal Jordan was evil for a little bit, and also was like a weird creep, you know? Like Hal Jordan's
You're
got
really
character.
shitting on Hal Jordan here. Hal Jordan is
I am.
the best, I think. Jon Stewart is the
Jon Stewart's
not
the best.
Not the coolest. I don't know what that's. He's the not the most interesting. I like Jon Stewart the most, is what I will say. But I think Guy Gardner is the funnest. So most fun.
I would say we both grew up on the Justice League animated show, right? The Bruce Timm, Paul Dini Justice League show, which
is why
Jon Stewart was the main Green Lantern. And that's why we both fucking love Jon Stewart, right? Mm-hmm. I also watched a lot of Batman, The Brave and the Bold, right? And the main Green Lantern you see in that is Guy Gardner. And I think he's great because he's just like the biggest prick you've ever met.
No, I like that's exactly why I like that one too. The other comment I had about the trailer, Charlie, is that I think that James Gunn has finally solved Superman's biggest issue.
That some people think he's boring?
No. That Clark Kent looks exactly like Superman, and it's infuriating that people don't like that. They don't even put more effort into it. Clark Kent looks nothing like Superman. They look like two different actors. The curly hair versus the straight hair is revolutionary. They've solved the issue. Superman, all he needed to do. We don't need this thing that Superman has this slight passive ability where he can make people not see him. That's the fucking dumbest idea in the comics. I want Superman in the bathroom every morning straightening his hair
with a curling
before
iron.
he goes out. No, I think he has to straighten his hair to be Superman, and Clark Kent, he has curly hair.
You're
naturally.
saying that the natural hair is curly and his Superman hair is like
I like the idea
mask
of like
he puts on.
Very quickly as he's put like whenever he races to a phone booth to put on his costume, he also has a hair straightener that he plugs in, straightens his hair real quick,
so funny.
And then goes out to battle.
I do love that.
Like,
that actually is a lot more fun.
Uses his laser vision on his hands and like slicks his hair down, and then goes.
That would be cool. Like that classic How Does Superman Shave? And it's like he uses his laser vision to do his, in a mirror. I would love it if he used his laser vision into a mirror and bounced it off his hair. It straightened out immediately. That would be so fun.
Yeah, and then they just don't bother to explain how one use of the laser vision burns hair and the other use straightens hair. I guess it's like the degrees of heat or something. That'd be cool if he could he could be like 120 degrees, boom.
He looks.
Like 150, boom. He could set it specific.
But yeah, every time they try and explain why Superman isn't recognized in the comics, it always the stupidity of the fucking reason tops itself, right? Because I've read a comic where Superman like vibrates his eyes at a frequency that like alters the way people look at him. I've also read that he vibrates his face whenever someone takes a photo of him. And also he's got special Kryptonian glasses, like the glasses that Clark Kent wears have special Kryptonian technology in them that make people forget his face. I'm like, all of this is stupid.
No,
just have him dress up differently.
Just curly hair. Curly hair is all you needed. Because it looks like a completely different actor. He looks completely
really does.
different.
You're 100% right. I also love that Kellex, Superman's robot, has a cape as well as Superman. I think that's very fun.
Very necessary. I like Crypto. I like the look of Crypto. I get some people are being like, it looks like a different dog than he normally is, but I think he just, it makes more sense for him to be a fluffy dog when he's out in the snow. In the snow,
yeah. I also don't really think it matters that much because I know the original, like the standard crypto look is like an all-white German Shepherd, basically. Like he's just like a slick dog.
Dachshund. Is it not a Dachshund or Dachshund? I don't actually know what they're called.
I don't know. I mean, he's not any breed of dog that exists on the planet Earth because he is in fact a Kryptonian dog.
Okay, generic white dog, sometimes with the elements of a lab, white shepherd, husky, or Dalmatian is the crypto, the super dog breed.
But enough talking about fucking Superman's dog. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles Long, and with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. How are you on this fine evening?
I'm good. I'm doing all right. You've got a wealth of options for the cold open, because that was about 5 minutes of conversation. You could take any 30 seconds and put that as the cold open.
Yeah, I
mean, you're welcome.
Yeah, or maybe I'll just cut all of it and begin with you talking about how we did a cold open.
How good the cold open was. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so funny. Yeah, it was so great when we talked about all those interesting things.
So insightful. I didn't even know I was that smart.
Yeah.
Nope.
Wow.
I'm not that smart.
It'd be funny if I leave it in now.
I'm a big dumb boy.
They'll know what we were talking about.
Yeah. You have a TV show to pitch. I gave you the title last week. The title is, Love in a Vacuum, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, did you just look it up? Is that why you had to pause?
No, I was thinking, is it a different show? Did I give him a different title? Because I have a title that I haven't been able to get out of my head just because I think it's really funny.
Is it The Ugliest Raisin in the World?
No, it's a title you haven't heard yet, and when you hear it, you're not gonna be happy. You're gonna hear it, and you're gonna be like, "How the fuck am I gonna make a TV show out of that?" But Love in a Vacuum, I wrote that title, and I was thinking about love stories in space, obviously, right? These two astronauts they're from different places, they're representing different nations or something like that, but over time, being stuck together on the same asteroid belt or whatever, they fall in love, and then they start kissing, that sort of thing. Or I was thinking, if you wanted to be Jacob about it, you could make it so that it's two dust bunnies trapped inside of a vacuum cleaner have to combat their way through the horrific microscopic world of the inside of a vacuum cleaner bag and fall in love in there. So I think you had a lot of options, Well,
I went with the space thing because space.
Space is fun. Space is cooler than a vacuum cleaner.
I guess I'm gonna start with the pilot, and then we'll get into the characters after I finish the pilot.
All right.
Because I kind of wrote, and I kind of wrote it in a way that you kind of have to do it that way. Though it's not really a mystery, so don't get the wrong perception here. There is a bit of romance here. This isn't a adventure show. There is some mystery-ish elements, but it's more of a survival show. But yeah. So
yeah,
the pilot. Here we go. We open up with a man floating, injured, unconscious in the wreckage of what appears to be a hallway, but you can see the cracks in the walls and it opens up into space. A robotic voice plays. 10 minutes of oxygen remaining. Then a female voice over at the helmet radio of this guy floating in the space hallway. She says, "Buck, James, can you hear me? James!" A massive crunch as the hallway still opens even more, revealing space and more wreckage outside. So it's now clear we're in some sort of massive ship that is been destroyed. And the girl yells again, "James!" And keeps yelling, and it cuts to the title, Love in a Vacuum. We now cut to the same man in a suit at a funeral. Everyone is outside talking, but he's still in his little seat, watching the watching the urn that's on the in the center of this church. Another man comes up behind him, sighs, and takes a sip of a flask. Offers it to the seated man, who shakes his head. The standing man with the flask shrugs, slicks back his greasy gray hair, drinks some more, and then lights a cigarette. He then says to the seated man, "You give a nice eulogy, James. A lot of people go all wooden, and it's good to show some emotion, some passion." James answers, "Yeah." The guy says, "Where's your wife?" James sort of looks at the floor, goes, she wasn't feeling well." Kind of in a tone that's sort of not very convincing, maybe a lie. The guy goes, "That's a shame. Well, I've got all your travel settled for the trip. Earth's only a short flight, and the park she wants to harass us spread at, it's pretty nice. You really ought to make a vacation out of it. Maybe take Melissa." James shakes his head, says, I can't take her, too long away from work, and she's busy and stuff. The standing man goes, "Oh, I thought you said she was sick." And he's like, "Oh, she is, but just working through it." And the man nods and walks away. James sits there for a while, stands up, walks out. Some of his friends are there, and they're calling him Buck rather than James, so we're getting implication that there's a nickname here. And he's doing his best, but he's not really all there, just sort of smiling and nodding his head, but not totally engaged in the conversation. And his friend's trying to cheer him up. When they leave, he goes back inside, picks up the urn, says, "All right, Mom, time to go." And he leaves. At home, he leaves the urn in his car, and he tells his wife that work was good today, and she is mainly just ignoring him as she furiously works and yells about issues in the home. He tells her that he's got a work trip. He's going to be gone for a couple of days, and she's annoyed about, him not being there, but more about her work, so doesn't really explain much.
She's not paying attention to him at all. Probably doesn't even lift her head up to look at him when he walks in the door. Just starts telling him about problems. Yeah, but it's clear that she's not really mad at him. She's more mad about work. And it's also clear that he has not said a word about his mom dying, and she has no idea. Maybe she would be more kind if she knew, but he has not mentioned it at all. So that night, he hears her crying over the phone. So he's in bed trying to sleep, and she's in another room in the house, and he can sort of hear her slightly, and it wakes him up, and he listens, and she's crying, talking to her friend about how overworked she is and how stressed she is. And she sort of hints that she's not really feeling anything for him anymore. And throughout the whole conversation, she's referring to him as James. In the morning, he leaves with his mom, and he hops on a massive ship full of tourists and some other mourners. The ship's like a big mini city, or kind of like a resort. So imagine like a big cruise ship, but bigger than that. It's probably got thousands of people on it. There's restaurants and water slides and apartments. There's districts and of this thing. It's so big. Massive, massive ship. Full of lots of people. They're doing lots of different things. And he goes to his room. He puts his mom in the room, and he sleeps for a long time, and he wakes up. He's got like the little flight map, how you have in your seat on airplanes. It says like, oh, you have this, you can see where you are and like how many hours you have left in your journey. And he sees that he's still got 3 days left. And he tries to sleep more. It's clear he just wants to try to sleep through the journey, but it's not really working. And so he decides to wander around the ship. But at this point, it's during the simulated night. So everybody's asleep. No one's around. So when he was getting on the ship, there was tons of people everywhere. All the activities were sort of taken up, but nobody's around now. And he plays a round of mini golf alone. He goes bowling, walks around an empty water park that's not working anymore, and he eats dinner in an empty restaurant. And when he finally... That's super depressing. Yeah. Well, he does eventually find some people when he goes to a bar with where there's, just a few people staying up real late at night. It's probably like 3 a.m. in this simulated night that they have on a ship, because obviously there's no real night. And so he drinks for a while. He gets absolutely wasted, and he's wandering back, lost, and he can't find his room, and he finds a closet, and he's just like, all right, I'll just fucking pass out in here. So, passes out in the closet.
Cut to, he's suddenly jerked awake as his head slams into the ground. He struggles to his feet, and the door closes next to him. He's not in a closet. He's in some sort of pod thing, and a blaring alarm's going off. He tries to get it open, but he can't. There's only one lever in the room. It says eject on it, and eject is blaring through the speakers as well, and he's panicking. He's trying to see in the hallway, and when he does, he looks through the little, like, window, and he gets torn apart, like, the hallway outside, and there's explosions everywhere. And just as the area outside the door explodes, he pulls the lever that says eject, and the pod shoots out of the ship. And we can see briefly from his view, like, the whole ship is exploding, everything, as this pod shoots out. And, like, the afterburners of the engine kick on. His head slams back into the back wall, and he passes out again. He then wakes up to the sound of a speaker saying 10 minutes of oxygen remaining. And then it tells him that he needs to, please restart the oxygen generator. And then it repeats 10 minutes of oxygen remaining. And he surveys around the pod. It's like this small studio apartment kind of thing. There's like a little tiny bed. It's very clearly like just this small,
like a cell, like a prison cell that can fly.
Essentially, yeah. It's like an escape pod for like one person with enough supplies to like last a little bit. But the oxygen generator was damaged in the when the pod was ejected out of the main ship. So he's got to like somehow restart it. And so he finds this suit, and the suit has this long tube connected to it. But there's not since the oxygen generator's not on, he can't actually fill up the suit with oxygen. So he's kind of in this paradoxical situation where he has to go outside to fix the oxygen generator, but he can't go outside because he doesn't have enough oxygen for this suit, because he doesn't have the oxygen generator on. So this is the situation that doesn't really work. So he decides to just kind of wing it, puts the suit on, goes out there with no oxygen, and just as he manages to repair it, he passes out. And he briefly hears like a choppy voice over the radio as he does. Like his helmet radio clicks on as the generator turns on. And he hears a choppy voice as he passes out. And that is the end of episode 1. So, passed out in space. He managed to turn on the generator, but it's not really clear if things are gonna work out with that. Does he need to do anything else, or is the oxygen gonna come in? Does it matter that the oxygen's come in, or is he gonna die anyway? Who knows? Episode 2, he wakes up. Ooh. Oxygen's been reestablished. Manages to crawl back inside the ship, and he hears that there's he can hear another a voice over his helmet radio. It's not really. It's like crackly. He can't really make out who it is or what it is. And he manages to repair the radio and hear the voice and set up the receiver so he can talk as well. And it's this other survivor whose name's Hailee, and she explains that because he was drunk obviously when everything happened, so he didn't really get the whole gist. But she explains that she doesn't really know what happened either. Like no one knows what happened. The ship just exploded out of nowhere. Maybe they hit something that was really hard to tell, or they were attacked. She can't find. She's been trying to find other survivors, but it's been like a day. So he's been passed out for a while when he woke up. Not just when he passed out from the oxygen deprivation, but also when he hit his head.
When he's hit his head, yeah.
Yeah. So he missed a whole day.
I have a question before you continue. Did he does he have his mom's ashes with him, or did they just explode?
He's got his mom's ashes. He brought those with him everywhere. Like in the montage.
That's kind of what I assumed. Like he was eating dinner across from his mom's ashes. He was bowling with his mom's ashes, that sort of thing. So I assumed he did, but I wanted to clarify just in case.
Yeah. So he's got his mom's ashes with him. He's talking with this girl, Hailee, over the radio, and she works for the company that made the ship, so she's got kind of like the escape plan, idea. And she's like, well, if we get to the hangar bay, or what's left of whatever the hangar bay is, there could be some smaller ships left that we can access. And she also mentions that we could all go to the communications bay and see if we can send out a distress signal. So he's closer to the hangar bay where the ship is, and she's closer to the communications thing. So she's going to go there first and then try to meet him at the hangar bay. And he's going to go straight to the hangar bay.
All right.
So they agree on the plan. And the show from here is leading towards them meeting up. I'm going to briefly explain the characters now at this point. So the first guy who we're following, James, his name is James Buchanan. Buck for short. So his friends throughout the show will call him Buck, and Hailee will call him Buck, but people that necessarily don't like him as much are going to call him James. So his wife's going to call him James. Yeah, that's sort of the tell that
maybe his brother.
Yeah, the people that the relationship's not going well with, it's going to be James. To people that he likes and like him, it's going to be Buck.
Yeah, so it's going to be a big deal when she calls him Buck. When Hailee
calling him Buck.
He introduced himself. Maybe he doesn't tell her that is a nickname. She just kind of comes to it, because it's not the hardest nickname in the world to go, right? But it's not the first nickname you would call a guy named James. I'd call him Jimmy or Jim or whatever, you know? Or Commissioner. I'd probably if I knew a guy named James, I'd call him Commissioner, just because it's funny.
Commish.
To me and no one else. Commish. But yeah, and she just calls him Buck.
Yeah.
And maybe his heart melts a little bit when that happens. It's the first time in a long time a woman that he cares for has called him that, because she's been calling him James for years now at this point, because their marriage is on the rocks.
Yeah, or his wife. So James Buck Buchanan, very polite, reserved, shy person. He's traveling on this ship so he can spread his ashes, his mom's ashes on Earth. Earth at this point, by the way, is like this. It's like a big national park that people go to either just explore nature. Like all of nature is just, or all of Earth is just this big park. So nobody lives there full time besides park rangers. There might be some places where people go to stay for a couple days or camp or something, but nobody lives on Earth full time besides the park rangers.
Okay.
So he's going there to spread his mom's ashes. That's a big thing. People like to go back to Earth and spread their parents or bury them. There's a whole. He'll briefly explain at some point to Hailee that this is it's kind of like a religious thing where people are like, oh, we need to be. You need to put me to rest back on Earth because that's where we came from, kind of thing.
The planet that birthed our species, even if I wasn't born there, we were born there.
It's a massive thing. Everybody gets their ashes spread on Earth, which will be important for later in the story. And in his mom's will, which will at some point we're gonna flashback. And in his mom's will, which is part of the reason he was so distressed at the funeral, not just because his mom died, but his mom's will asked him to divorce his wife.
Damn. That's a fucking banger of a question, a favor to ask your son in your will.
Yeah, because it'll be you and her are clearly miserable. It's not just that you are miserable, but she also is miserable with you. That it'd be better for both of you if you weren't together. He's very repressed in the relationship, and he's not as joyful as he once was, and she's a lot angrier and more stressed in her life. So it's not she's bad, you got to divorce her. It's you both are worse being together than you were, before.
Than you were a year ago, even, or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's clearly just getting worse and worse. But neither of them are realizing that it's just a
They're
problem.
so used to being miserable that kind of the idea of doing anything else is scary enough that they don't try.
Yeah. I really want it to be portrayed that it's not, she's not just the evil wife. It's clear that her life would be better if they weren't together too. And it's not all her fault. It's his fault too. He's just so closed off emotionally. He didn't even tell his wife that his mom died. So it's not just on her, it's also on him. It's just a mutual thing.
And his mom obviously knows the wife well enough to know her feelings. Like, she can see her feelings.
Yeah. Hailee Sharp, the girl on the other side of this radio, is a very artistic, kind, empathetic, gentle person. Dislikes rules and very passionate about basically everything. Her situation is that she's currently on the trip for work. So she works for the company that owns the ship, and she volunteered for this big long venture that nobody really volunteers for. You kind of get like, this is like sort of this trip to Earth is like a thing that like low performers and like low level employees get put on, and she's kind of a high performer, and she doesn't really do this kind of work, but she volunteered with it because she wants some time away from her boyfriend who just proposed to her, and she said yes, but she's regretting saying yes. So
not even just like cold feet, but she's like, oh, actually, this guy's like the worst. You know?
Well, he's not. It's not like that. Worst, this is kind of a similar situation and everything. It's not that he's bad. I'll explain him in a second, but it's just that they don't really work together. Gel. Like she's not really in the relationship for like a long-term thing. She's just in it because like they've been dating for a while, and she doesn't really feel like ending it. Like she's, got so much other stuff going on in her life, and this thing's staple. It's like it'd be almost more work to end it. But like after he proposed and she sort of panicked, said yes. Now she's like actually thinking about the relationship, and she's like, do I really want this to continue? Like, do I want this to be permanent? I don't know. So some of the other characters we're going to meet, Captain Jaime Reeves. He's the captain of the ship. He'll be important. We're not going to get a lot of details now, but he's a very you didn't play Halo, but he's like Captain Keyes in Halo. He's like this former naval officer who's now like doing this in his sort of spare time, like in his retirement, just piloting these ships. Super easy thing to do. Doesn't really require much work, but he's doing it because he's just he's bored in retirement. But he's a very moral, resolute person, and he'll notice something a little suspicious going on, which we'll get into, which may relate to the crash. Then we have Melissa Norwood. Melissa Norwood is Buck, James's wife. Very noticeable that she did not take his last name here, so that is part of the sign that their relationship isn't going that well. She hates her stressed life and misses her friends. Doesn't see them as much because of her job and because she lives far away from them, and her life with James is like sort of separate from them, and she doesn't get to see them very much. Then we have Jordan Meeks. Jordan Meeks is Haley's boyfriend. Very soft-spoken, gaudy kind of guy. Very outspoken, but not very intelligently. He selects his friends on perceived popularity as well. So there's definitely some negative characteristics there that I put in, but not all bad.
Yeah. Well, I think that seems to be the kind of theme of this show, is that nobody's all bad. Everybody's got their own flaws, but there's no one who's just like out and out the bad guy, Yeah. That's
hopefully what is supposed to be portrayed. So from there on, the first half of the show, every episode is going to begin. Well, not every episode. Every episode for the first half of the season is going to begin with that scene in the exploded hallway. So you know how the pilot episode opens with James in a spacesuit in an exploded hallway with a thing that says like 10 minutes of oxygen remaining. It's going to open with that, and that number is going to be going down like 9, 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 6, 5. And we're going to get, some more information. James might, wake up. We'll get the ship might break open a little bit more, but we'll get like little 20, 30-second clips of that. So some sort of future scene that's going to happen. For the first half of the season, though, after you get that little clip, the episode is back to the present, which is James trying to get to Hailee in the hangar bay. at this point, we're only seeing James's point of view. Hailee is just a voice over the headset, the helmet radio. So it's, their lives, them getting closer, talking about things. Also, him working towards getting to the hangar bay. Coming up with solutions for getting oxygen and supplies and stuff. And at first as well, Buck is going to lie about not being married, which Hailee will eventually discover is, not true, that he is married when she gets to the communications bay and sees, like, the information about the passengers and stuff. And as we're doing this as well, they're both learning the story of Captain Jaime Reeves, and, like, getting, like, little pieces of information about, like, how the captain was suspicious of things. At some point, James will go to the captain's, like, quarters to, like, get, like, a special key, and he'll find, like, all these notes and logs of, like, the captain, like, looking into some conspiracy in the ship, and, like, how he was suspicious of something, and has something to do with the funeral business that the ship runs, of, like, bringing ashes to the planet Earth. And how there's all this supplies on the ship for this, like, this dust chemical as well, all these cargo holds of it. And so he's looking into it, not really sure what's going on. James is getting some more information about it. And eventually, James is going to get to the hangar bay. But as he does, there's going to be a massive explosion, which is, the hallway tearing apart, and he gets knocked out, and he's in that position that, we've been seeing constantly in the beginning of every episode, where he's passed out in the hallway, and his oxygen's going down, and Hailee is desperately trying to get to him. At this point, we're going to have a whole episode that is
Hailee's point of view.
Hailee's point of view from the entire, like, from the beginning. We're going to open with Hailee getting proposed to by her boyfriends, montage of her running, the ship exploding, her getting to an escape pod, her meeting Buck over the radio.
Maybe we could have a fun shot of her, like, trying to get into escape pod, right? Like, trying to get in, but there's a drunken idiot who's, like, stumbled in and fallen in, and the escape pod's closed, and so she has to, like, sprint to a different one. Yeah, I think that would be fun if they had a little, like, interaction, but not really, beforehand, and she only realizes after seeing him in person that he was the drunken moron, Yeah,
that'd be funny. We could also have, like, more little, like throughout, like, her getting on the ship originally, like, little teases to, like, they briefly saw each other at some point.
Like, and they were antagonistic. I think that's funny if it's like he took the last donut or something. Like, he took the last fucking, like, bear claw from the continental breakfast, and she's like, what a fucking prick, and she, like, got the last cup of coffee that they had and didn't, like, put on a new pot, and she's like, James is like, what a fucking asshole. Who doesn't put on a new pot? You finish a pot, you put on a new pot.
Yeah.
But he's really meek and quiet and reserved, and so he's, like, mumbling to himself, and she's like, you fucking dick. She's loud. Complimenting each other's personalities.
Yeah. And then we, of course we get, like, every... Not it's not going to be, like, we're not going to see every little moment of her journey to the hangar bay, but we'll see, like, a montage of it up to... Yeah, of course. So, like, everything... Very quickly, we get a retelling of her whole side of the story. And her getting to the hangar bay. But we find out that James is already gone. He's not there. His body's disappeared. And we'll, as we're also getting more of her story, we're also learning more about Captain Jaime Reeves and his sort of adventure trying to find more out, and she's discovering more and more. And maybe I was thinking, I don't know if we would just have her, we'd see his journey from her perspective, like seeing logs and stuff, or if we should have, like, an actual episode or part of an episode from his point of view, where he's learning more about this conspiracy, which we'll eventually learn is it's a really messed up thing. They run this funeral business in this company, and there's, like, this sort of clandestine part of it where they replace all the ashes of the people with this like fake sort of chemical dust that just sort of looks kind of like the ashes, and they use the real ashes as like this energy solution.
I was
thing.
gonna say, turns out it makes the best fuel in the galaxy is human ashes mixed with like, I don't know, like an exploding sun, like something ridiculous in sci-fi.
Something stupid. Yeah, whatever it is. But anyway, the ashes they use for this energy company. And it's like this conspiracy within the company that Hailee works for. It's like, this very small sort of black market operation. But the captain, this the previous captains of this ship have all sort of just let it slide. But because this is like sort of a resolute, former
principled captain,
admiral, principal guy, he, retiree guy, he like he puts a real effort to try to uncover what's happening, and will eventually get killed because he found out, and he'll press like the emergency button, like calling for like Mayday button, and the people that are doing this operation to like steal all these ashes, they kind of panic, and their solution to this, the people coming in, they're like going to do an investigation. So they're like, okay, the only thing we can do is we have to destroy the ship. Like, we have to get rid of all the evidence. We have to blow everything up. Just get the ashes and get out of here, and just pretend like there was a massive, reactor explosion, like, mechanical fault, and try to, prevent anyone from doing a serious investigation into what we were doing here. And they'll learn, of course, that there were two survivors, and they need to take them out. So that being Hailee and Buck. So Hailee has to go and rescue Buck and retrieve his mom's ashes. They're gonna, she's gonna help get him out, and they're gonna have this, Deus Ex Machina moment where they get saved by the rescue team that Captain Jaime Reeves called before he died. So before these black market ash stealing people can kill Hailee and James, the rescue team will arrive and they'll get saved, but they're going to get separated, and they never really exchanged like information, so they have no way of contacting each other. But the show will end with Buck on Earth spreading his mom's ashes, and we'll have a previous scene where he told Hailee where he was going to spread his mom's ashes, and she'll arrive. She'll be there, arrive, like waiting for him, and that'll be the reunion. Yeah. Title card: Love in a Vacuum.
I like that. I think that's sweet. I enjoy that quite a bit. I didn't expect there to be a big, scary sci-fi twist at the end, though. Like, I didn't expect there to be a conspiracy,
Mm-hmm. You just thought they were gonna survive. That was it.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be a lot more like Gravity, but it became more like Passengers, but good,
I never saw Passengers, so I don't know if Passengers...
No one saw Passengers. I didn't watch Passengers. I just know that it's bad, and I know that Chris Pratt is a weird creep in it. But there is, like, a conspiracy towards this latter half of the movie.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I like that quite a bit. Love in the Vacuum. Love in a Vacuum, baby. I am
really
really glad
obviously
it wasn't set...
more stuff about the whole ashes thing spliced in throughout. I just wrote the pilot episode. I just like the idea of like these two people bonding over like the radio despite never meeting each other, and like sort of journeying to meet up. And I also like the idea of like this whole guy's journey is like to spread his mom's ashes, and there's this fucked up company that's trying to steal his mom's ashes to turn it into energy.
Mm-hmm. Or has already stolen the ashes.
Oh, maybe they swapped it out. Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Could be good.
But I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's sweet, and I like the essential thematic element of no one's all good or all bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do hate the cliche of like, oh, the wife's evil, or like the boyfriend's a dick.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
I hate that too. The classic rom-com fucking oh, you know, she's the perfect person and they're obviously meant for each other, but she's dating a fucking douchebag fucking financier and he's dating a fucking asshole, you know, chef or whatever.
And both of them are terrible, but there's no real inclination or understanding of why they're together. Yeah, it's like, all right,
because it's not even like they never give the bad partner any redeeming qualities. They're always rude, loud, smelly, mean, cruel, and bad at sex. And it's like, well, then why the fuck are you with this person? Go have sex with Matthew McConaughey or whoever the romantic hero is in the show, in the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. That trope does bother me a lot. But I really like that show. I think it's fun. I think it's funny. I think it's cute. I think it's sweet. And we all love space.
We do love space.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, has been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please come back next week, where we will have a brand new televisual series for you to imagine and enjoy. And that televisual series will be titled what, Jacob?
Well, we were supposed to pretend like, you were supposed to pretend like you hadn't already picked it. And
I don't know what you're
is.
talking about, Jake. I don't know what title it is. I'm waiting for you to give me.
You were supposed to say, well, I don't know. You made it. You gave it away already. You gave up the ruse, or maybe I just gave it up. I don't know.
You gave it up, Jake. I was letting you play with it, Jake. You gave
you're
it
right.
up.
I could have just said pick a number between 1 through 10 and then lied. I messed that up. Here. I'll cut this out. I'll cut this out right here. And
okay, good.
Or maybe I won't.
Classic.
I'll leave this in, and we'll just
Please
redo what you just said. So, team me up again.
Okay. There will be next week. We'll be right back with a new televisual series, and that televisual series will be titled what, Jacob?
Pick a number 1 through 10, Charlie.
Number 8.
Your show for next week is called Cloud Runner.
Cloud Runner? What? That's crazy. All right. Well, I will. I'll get to work right away on that TV show.
Oh, you better.
And hopefully, I will have it done by next week.
By 10 minutes from now, when we record the next episode.
When we record the next episode. All right. Thank you, everyone. Please give us a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat. Remember, we will be here next week. We love you, and have a good night.